And welcome back to Comic Frontline, everybody. I am Brant Fowler, aka the Gonzo Goose, back with you for another review. It's TV time as I'm talking about Heroes Reborn, Season 1, Episode 6, Game Over. This episode sees the conclusion of the video game, Evernow, as we get our first appearance of Hero in Heroes Reborn. So, overall, I thought it was a pretty solid episode. It was actually on par with last week's episode for me personally. And last week's episode was the best episode of the season so far, in my personal opinion. So, going into this, just talking about some of the storylines going on. Luke decides he's going to throw it all away. He's kind of committed himself to this path. We saw it start with him burning down the house and selling his practice and everything, kind of tying up all his loose ends. In this episode, he calls his wife, lets her know, then throws his phone away, buys a boat, and, spoiler alert, tosses himself in the harbor with a backpack full of bricks. Unfortunately, Melina happens to run into him and sees him do this and saves him, and they find out that they're actually supposed to meet and help each other save the world. So they go on towards that path, and we learned that who is in the envelope that she's supposed to find? None other than Tommy. Speaking of Tommy, Tommy decides to take Emily to Paris. Why not? See the Eiffel Tower, get away from it for a bit. It's romantic, all this stuff. And while he's there, he has a little altercation with the local authorities, and Emily wants to show him something cool. She shows him Ninth Wonders. It's the missing issue, and it has him in it, and the name Nathan on the cover. But of course, it's in French, so we can't read it. But that's going to provide some clues in that particular storyline as well. Carlos is he's got his hostage, the cop. I can't remember the cop's name, but he's an Evo, and he finds out where his nephew and the priest have been taken, and they go on a road trip to find it, and he gets kind of betrayed. Whatever, you saw that coming. This is still the most boring part of the show, in my personal opinion. Let's see, who else? E. Parlo's character, I cannot think of her name. It's Erica's daughter, Taylor. That's it. We see her. She goes off and she's trying to find her boyfriend, but he's gone. So she makes this video and uploads it to Hero Truther, kind of exposing everything. In the meantime, you have Noah and Quentin, who kind of meet up with Miko and Ren as they're all converging Evernatus to free Hero. They all find out that they're after Hero, and I'm sorry about the dogs barking. I don't know what they're going crazy for. Might be thundering. Anyway, so Miko thinks she's going after her father, but she learns in game that she's supposed to be freeing the Master of Time and Space, actually. So their goals kind of intertwine, so they are all there and they go for it. They go to free Hero from the game, despite obstacles that are put in their path. They know that Hero's powers is what they've harnessed, and I'm not going to spoil that, but there's a reason they harnessed his powers, and that's what the powers we saw in the lab with the doctor that was, or the scientist that was helping Erica last episode, transporting things. We know now what that purpose is, and we know what Erica has done. So, turns out, Hero gets out and he's like, I don't want to step on any butterflies or anything, but Noah's like, we got to fix this, we got to save the world. They're going to go back to June 13th, and we're promised next week we're going to get the biggest reveal. We see, in the previews for next week, we see, I can't think of her name, Mrs. Petrelli, Angela Petrelli, picking up a phone and saying, Claire? We don't know if this is a flashback or if this is present. We don't know anything. We don't know who's under that sheet. The exciting thing is, Claire may not be dead. We don't know. Who we do know is dead, and this is a spoiler alert, so if you don't want to find out, fast forward a little bit. This episode, sadly, we lost Quentin, who was killed by his own sister, Phoebe. She used her shadow powers and said, you've doomed us all, that Erica gave her purpose, and she kills her brother. So Quentin is no longer with us, at least until time changes. We know with Heroes, you're never truly dead. So we'll have to see what happens. Personally, I thought this was a really solid episode. I really enjoyed this episode, and seeing Hero, even though we saw very little of him in this episode, the fact that he was freed and the fact that he is setting us on that path to take us back in time, and we're finally going to find out what's going on. 7 episodes in, we're finally going to learn what caused all of this. We see Mohinder show up in the previews for next week. We, like I said, we see the tease about Claire. We know that Tommy's real name is possibly Nathan, or maybe it's Nathan Petrelli is tied to Tommy in some way. We know that he's supposed to save the world with Melina and Luke now, and all of these heroes are starting to converge, and the story is really starting to progress now. And I actually really enjoyed this episode. I thought it was, again, one of the better episodes of the season. Last episode and this episode, and it feels like it's finally starting to gain its footing, and it's finally starting to progress into that next stage of the story where we're starting to get that convergence and the revelations. And I can't be more excited about it now. It was shaky at first this season, but like I said, as the episodes have gone on, I feel like they've gotten stronger each week, and now we're here about the midpoint of the season. And sorry, my phone just goes off. And I feel like it's finally getting to that point where we can start getting excited about all the things to come. And hopefully the story plays out really well, and it leaves enough of a buzz by the end of it that the network and the fans are going to want more and more, and we'll continue to see Heroes on our television. But for me, for this one, not a perfect episode, but a lot of really solid things. I think Carlos' story could be completely scrapped, and I'd be fine with it. I think Tommy's story, him being a little bit broody, is getting a little bit old. He did that a little bit in this episode, but we saw him turn a corner. But just because of that element, it took it down a little bit for me. Melina was just basically there to meet Luke and save him, which was fine. We don't need to see. I do like that they're focusing on just a couple of the stories and just giving us a little sprinkling of the others here and there. And I think that's the better way to go, as opposed to what they were doing at the beginning of the season, which is giving us equal on everything, and it was overwhelming because you were just getting a little piece of several stories, and now we're getting fuller pieces of just select stories each episode. So for me, I've gone back and forth over this one score-wise, but honestly, I think I'm going to give this one a 4 out of 5 just because of the future implications that this one revealed. So I almost gave it a 3 3/4, but I'm going to stick with a 4. I think it was that solid of an episode, and I'm really excited to see next week's episode and going forward with the series. So that's going to wrap up this review of Heroes Reborn. Hope you guys liked it. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of this review, and check out all the other reviews and all the other content here on Comic Frontline live show around 9:30 p.m. ish Eastern time on Tuesdays. And Media Madness usually on Thursdays. Sometimes it's a different day. And don't forget, next week is Supergirl. We're going to be talking about Supergirl on the live show. And check out comicfrontline.com for more. If you want to find out what I'm up to, you can check out Last Ember Press, zone4podcast.com, and Where's My Tale? If you can look it up on YouTube or tinyurl.com/whereismytale. And we're doing weekly comic calls over there. And we've moved One Up Box over there, so you can check all that stuff out. And if you happen to be in the Tyler, Texas area, about an hour and a half out of Dallas, check out Tyler's Rose City Comic Con this weekend, October 23rd, 24th, and 25th. Last Ember Press. We'll be there, myself and Lisa, with a brand new book and a brand new print. So come out, say hi. But until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.